Hey everybody, and welcome to BrickVault. Today in front of me, I've got 6 different droid builds. Specifically, these are all different Separatist designs. They're all minifigure scale, custom built Lego creations, both from the designer Thrawn's Revenge and Melnick. So, these are some of the lesser known Separatist droids that have ever been made. I'm going to list them off right now, but be honest in the comments below, how many of these different droid names did you actually know before clicking on this video? Starting with the models from Melnick, we have the Octuptarra Tri-Droid. Now this is fairly known. It's not to be confused though with the bigger cousin, the Magna Tri-Droid that we saw a few times. This is the smaller guy. He was seen quite a few times in the Clone Wars show. And then there's also the original shape of this Tri-Droid that appeared in the Clone Wars cartoon show, specifically Volume 2. They had a very different take on what this 3-legged model looked like back then. And then also from the same designer, he decided to tackle the Manta Droid sub-fighter. Think the Vulture Droid, but for underwater. They were designed to fight the Mon Calamari and Quarren, and I believe they were only seen in the cartoon show as well. Then from Thrawn's Revenge, there is the B3 Ultra Battle Droid. This essentially is a super battle droid, but bigger, stronger, faster, and with a lot more firepower. It appeared in the comic Heavy Metal Jedi, and in this situation, this one droid needed Mace Windu and Saci Tin to actually team up in order to destroy it. Now this droid, for sure, you may recognize. The LR-57 Combat appeared in a couple of different times in the Clone Wars show. It's got this weird kind of barrel-shaped head, and it can also be made in brown for Lego bricks. And lastly, we have the Chameleon Droid. Aside from being a weird, creepy, crawly little droid that shoots, it was designed to lay mines and conduct sabotage operations. The cool thing about building out these designs in Lego bricks is that even though a lot of them came originally just as like cartoon drawings, once they're in brick built form, it doesn't really matter where their original look came from, whether or not they had a super realistic vibe to them in the beginning or afterwards. They're all bricks at the end of the day. And by the way, if you did want to build any of these creations for yourself, you can get the instructions at our web store. That is brickvault.toys. With an instructions purchase comes a PDF guide to the build and a digital parts list for ordering your pieces online. Every single model we host is hand tested for durability. The instructions are also troubleshot, so they're easy to actually follow along when you're putting them together. We choose the parts for the creation based on their availability in the market, and if you buy instructions from us, you will be able to put these models together in real life. It's an excellent way to help support our channel and the talented designers that we work with, like Thrawn's Revenge and Melnick. All right, let's check out the Tri-Droids first. They've got a bit of posability here and there, but with 3-legged models, I generally like to keep these legs fairly static when I pose them. Even if you can raise them up a little bit and down here and there for the overall height of the model, it's generally kind of tough making convincing walking poses with 3-legged builds. I particularly like the mechanical and connected details on the legs for the more common Clone Wars version of the Octuptarra Tri-Droid. For me, it helps this model feel a bit more grounded to the physical universe, while the Tri-Droid seen in Volume 2 of the cartoon show has a much more otherworldly vibe to it, and you often see it in swarms, or you did see it in a swarm. I think the one time you did see it from the cartoon show. Now, the Manta Droid is a really great concept. I love that this thing got created and that the LucasArts team really took the time to flesh out how a submerged civilization would conduct warfare with the Separatists and how the Separatists would try to adapt their style to fighting underwater. That's just cool that this thing is a vehicle at all. It's a little weird that they called it a manta, even though it looks more like a squid with an oversized head fin thing stuff on the sides. Not really an issue. Just thought I'd mention it. It's a fun model with the trans red pieces that show the eye sensors. It's a really similar design concept that you see in the Vulture Droid or the Hyena Droid, the gunship, and it's just in general here a nice balance of mechanical and also organic shaping. Now the B3 Battle Droid is fun because it's so big, it comically large, really. It's got a similar body shape to how a Super Battle Droid generally looks. It's just 2.5 times, 3 times bigger. The legs and arms have some decent posability. You can also play with the waist and side-mounted blasters as well, so that you can move this around a bit, and it's really unique in the sand green color scheme. It makes it stand out from the crowd, and it would have been awesome to see some of these guys at the head of like a huge legion of B1s on Geonosis or something. It's a really easy model to manipulate, slightly top heavy, but certainly fun to pose. The LR-57 Combat Droid feels like the cool older brother of a gonk droid joining the army or something. It's such a comically top heavy design that only really existed in animated form, like so many of the models that Star Wars does, that when you build this model physically, the only way for it to be able to reasonably stand up requires a small built-in stand at the base. It's not too easily seen, and it makes the creation much easier to interact with. Aside from generally how I like to handle the model, there are some great layered details for the big cylindrical head, and I like that the candlestick pieces were used for the double barrel blasters on each arm. Alright, the last guy up is this little Chameleon Droid. They called it that because it was equipped, or it's equipped with a holographic array that can scan the droid's surroundings and project a background around the droid or over the droid to prevent it from being seen. It was originally a mining droid that was built for crawling in caves, which kind of made it the perfect design for being able to quickly scale rough terrain ahead of any imminent battle and start laying traps for the enemy. It wasn't a particularly strong fighting droid. In the diverse world-building universe of Star Wars, there really is a lot of variability that I feel like doesn't get shown as much within the Star Wars content that's getting produced now. Often they like to go back to a lot of the hits, like a Bark Speeder and a Republic gunship or something like that. But there really is a ton of this stuff when you start digging into the Star Wars universe, like all kinds of weird little vehicles and creations that were around for a time here or there, whether it was in a video game or a comic book or something like that. And so anyways, it was just fun to explore the lesser traveled regions of Star Wars and put them into brick built form, because it's all kind of this fun uniform scale once they're in physical bricks. So anyways, this was a fun little video. Let me know what other types of creations you would like to see built in the future. If you wanted to get the instructions for these guys or anything else, remember BrickVault.toys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video, and we will see you next time at BrickVault.